Hey, nice to see everybody here. Everything this gentleman just said, I say it again. That's right. It's so great to be back here. I have one big regret about this whole thing, and it's that they didn't have it when I was in high school. I went to high school 20 minutes from here, and I would have been here. I love this thing. The other thing, though, about this is I teach screenwriting at Drexel University and University of the Arts, and I showed my students some of the films that I saw in this festival last year. I said, you guys are in college, you should be making films like this. So anyway, give yourselves a big pat on the, okay. So anyway, this is scheduled to be genre, talking about the different genres of film and what to write. It was really interesting hearing that discussion before, and I don't want to go too far off track, but it raised some issues, the topics of violence and guns and things, and this is going to be one of the themes I talk about today. If you have ever shot somebody, I don't want to know about it. My guess is most of you haven't, but most of you have seen movies where people shoot each other. The theme of what I'm going to talk about today is write what you know. Don't copy things you saw in other movies. Granted, you're 15, 16, 17, 18 years old. A lot of people can pack a lot of life into that time span, but think about what you know. Use what you have, what comes from the heart. So here's a really dumb question. Have you ever seen a movie you didn't like? Yeah? Yeah. What didn't you like about it? Was it the sound effects editing? Oh, the movie would have been so good if the sound effects editing had been at least competent. Was the costume design? Oh, I wouldn't believe he would have worn that suit in that scene. I'm out of here. I'm not going to watch this movie. The lighting, bad lighting. Actually, I have seen a movie. If I wasn't a writer, I would be a gaffer. If I don't know if anybody knows what gaffing is, it's doing the lights, hanging the lights. I love doing that. What about a story? Have you ever seen a movie and you're really into it, it's great, you're on the edge of your seat, and then it just completely falls apart at the end? Okay, that's not that's not the sound effects editing. That's not the costume design. That's not the lighting. That's the story. That's because the screenplay wasn't finished. The screenplay needed work, and it wasn't ready to be shot. So story is important, like we were discussing before. You know, I'm a screenwriter. Everybody on a film thinks their job is the most important. The director thinks his or her job's the most important. Actors think they're the most important. I worked on a film where the gaffer clearly thought he was the most important person on the film. But if you don't have a story, what are you doing? You're just wasting money. The average cost of a major Hollywood movie is $2 to $4 million a day. If you're spending that kind of money, you better know what you're doing, and you better have something worth talking about. So, your brain is like a computer. The human brain is designed to take in data and analyze it. We're always trying to figure things out. And I want you to enjoy movies, but if you can ever separate yourself from the movie and be aware of your thought process and how you're thinking, I wonder what's going to happen now. I wonder why they're showing that. That's what you're always actually doing while you're watching a movie. You're trying to figure things out. It's kind of like, wait, I'll get to that. It's like a Wi-Fi signal. You know how your phone is always looking for a Wi-Fi signal? When you're watching a movie, you're always looking for meaning. Your brain craves patterns. It craves forms. You're trying to figure things out while you're watching a movie. My slides were out of order, so now we can go to this other good one. You don't have to write a dumb movie. Somebody else will. I promise you, somebody out there is writing a really dumb movie. A good friend of mine went to Wesleyan College, a really, really good school. And one of the guys in his dorm was this guy named Michael Bay. And I don't want to trash Michael Bay, but do you know Michael Bay? Yeah, he goes to Wesleyan College to make Transformers movies. My friend's best friend from college directed that movie, The Meg, that was out this summer about the giant shark. Anybody see that? Quick side note about that. I liked The Meg, and I thought it was really stupid. Every now and then you go see a stupid movie and eat a lot of popcorn. That was great. And I thought to myself, how could a movie this dumb, or how could a movie this entertaining be so dumb? And I analyzed it. I actually sat there in the theater and analyzed it. I figured anytime a human being opened their mouth to speak, it was really bad. Anytime there was a giant shark on screen, it was really good. So, but don't do that. Look for meaning. Anybody ever see this movie? Get Out? Yeah. Not. You can barely see it. It's rated R. I wasn't sure what the... But if you have seen Get Out, it's a pretty funny movie. Would you agree? Did you think it was funny at all? Oh, maybe it was just me. There's some funny parts. There's some really, really scary parts in it too. But for those of you who have seen it, is it about anything? Does it have a theme? Is it trying to express a point of view about the world? Trust me, it is. You'll see it in a couple years. Here's a secret. Almost anybody can write a screenplay. Anybody can get screenwriting software. Anybody can learn proper formatting. But telling a good story can be tough. And that's what I want to get you guys thinking about. How to tell a good story. There's all kinds of different stories. Listening to the conversation beforehand, I gather that one, as mentioned, a number of people would like to use guns in their movies, and you can't do that. A lot of people would like to use profanity in your movies, and you can't really do that. Think about what you can do, and as suggested, I wasn't planning to talk about this. I made a movie a few years ago. It's called Stomping Ground. It's on Amazon. It's about a group of kids who commit a random act of violence. They beat someone to death for no reason. There's no violence in the movie. You're like, what? Yeah, you don't see the beating. It happens before the movie starts. The whole movie's about the fallout from the event. Now, I will say, these are tough working class kids. And I went through the script. Well, actually, the script got optioned by a producer in Hollywood. She loved it. I actually turned her down 3 times, finally sold it to her. And the first thing she said is about the language. And I checked. The script was 85 pages long, and the F word was on every page 5 times. I can't do the math, but that's a lot. So she said, you don't have to take it all out, just most of it, just 75%. And I did. Now, this is a bad lesson to learn. You'll forget this as soon as you leave, but I took it out. And she got back to me, she said, this sounds ridiculous, put it all back in. You have some constraints at this point in your career. I personally actually don't use profanity, but I know I'm talking about tough working class kids who are in a jam, and it just didn't sound right for them to say, oh shucks, what the heck are we gonna do now? She said it sounded like a Disney movie, which isn't not to say Disney movies are bad. So a good story is about an interesting protagonist who wants something badly and is having trouble achieving it. And the story is worth writing because it illustrates some kind of universal message. Universal messages are things we can all relate to. Like, I don't know, love. You've probably heard about love. A lot of people like it. Death. How many movies are there about people dying? And a variety of people. You know, there's the brave fight against rare terminal illness that inspires you to do better in your life. Then there's slasher movies where teenagers get chopped up. These are all movies about death. We all know that death is a part of life that we don't really get to experience till we experience it. And so that's why there's a lot of movies about death. On a happier note, there's also a lot of movies about love, like I said. You might see a movie about love and think, huh, maybe one day I will be in love. but we can relate to that. It should be things that people can relate to. Have you ever seen movies that hit you right here and make you think and feel something? No, you should. Nobody wants to admit it. Oh, that movie really touched me. I know, it's cool. I was a teenager. I didn't want to be moved or express emotions once. Now it's, honestly, now it's like if I don't cry at a movie, I feel like I got ripped off. Not really. The Meg, I was sobbing. No. So, well, you can't see my red fonts here. So it says character. An interesting protagonist. Little side note or digression. How do you make a character interesting or sympathetic? What do Harry Potter and Bruce Wayne and what is it? The sisters in Frozen. What's that? I thought I was going to say that. Yes. What do they all have in common? Yes. The what? Loss. Flaws. Yes, they have flaws. They also have loss. Yes.
Tragic backstory.
Tragic backstory. Missing parents. Dead parents. Look at the movies, see how many characters are missing a parent or a loved one. It makes them automatically sympathetic. They have to have a goal. They have to be trying to do something. Now, I am aware that you guys are writing short films, and it's a little bit different in short films. There's not a lot of time to establish these things, but if you can think about your character, establish a good character, and kind of distill that into a shorter form, you'll be in good shape. Write what you know. I don't know if you guys have had ever read Oscar Wilde, but this was a nice quote from him. To regret one's own experiences is to rest one's development. Think about where you come from. I'm not saying you have to take your journal and make it into a movie or your diary and make it into a movie, although I think that's been done. But have something to say, have causes, have things you care about and that you want to express. You know, it's fine to be entertaining, but if you really think about it, maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but maybe in 10 years, the movies that you think about, the movies that you watch over and over again, the ones that make you feel good are usually something you can relate to. You're not going to be like, oh, my favorite movie is the one where the helicopter crashed into the toilet or something. It's going to be the one where the guy makes up with his father, that sort of thing. I know that sounds touchy-feely and everything, but at the end of the day, whether we admit it or not, a lot of us are touchy-feely. So premise. Have a premise. When you were younger, maybe even now, did you ever read a book or have somebody read a book to you and then ask the question, what was the moral of that story? I ask that question a lot, and I get maybe that's not something teachers do anymore, but when I was in school, it was like, now, what was the moral of that story? Don't build houses out of hay. Don't let bears into your house and sleep. No. Finding Nemo. Has anybody ever seen Finding Nemo? Yes? That's good. I have a reputation in the institutions where I teach, even when students have me for the first time, they come in and they know, oh, well, I've heard about you. You only talk about 4 movies. Finding Nemo, The Incredibles, School of Rock. School of Rock is an amazing screenplay. I wish I had time to break down School of Rock for you. Spider-Man, maybe Iron Man too, so that's 5 movies. So what's Finding Nemo about? Okay, let me rephrase the question. What's it about? Not what happens in it. What's it about? And I know probably when you went to see Finding Nemo, yep.
It's about a father clownfish trying to find his son.
Yes, that's the plot. I want to go a little bit deeper. And believe me, I'm pretty new to looking deeply at films. I was like, what? I didn't know it was about that. I thought it was about love means, oh, so you can't see I'll have to read these to you. Love means trust and freedom, even in an undersea world. To be in love with somebody, to love somebody, means you have to trust them and allow them some space. Movies are about characters growing and changing. You guys have seen Iron Man? The first Iron Man? The first time we see Tony Stark. Yeah, peace. I love peace. I'd be out of a job if there was peace. What's Tony Stark like at the beginning of the movie? Yeah, he's rich and he's cool. Okay, who wouldn't want to be rich and cool? Let me tell you, it's not all it's cracked up to be. I'm rich and no. He's kind of a jerk, isn't he? You're like, nah, Tony Stark is my spirit animal. Tony Stark at the beginning of the movie. Tony Stark after. I saw young Americans killed by the very weapons I created to defend them and protect them. And I saw that I'd become part of a system that is comfortable with zero accountability. I had my eyes opened. I came to realize that I had more to offer this world than just making things that blow up. And that's why, effective immediately, I'm shutting down the weapons manufacturing division of Stark Industries. He goes from, yeah, I'd be out of a job if there was peace, to I'm closing down the weapons manufacturing. He grows and changes. Movies are about people growing and changing. It's kind of hard in a short film, but you can do it. Tony Stark experiences, wait for it, Tony Stark experiences a change of heart, literally and figuratively. I know that was pretty deep. I promise I won't get much deeper than that. And like he said, but along the way, if there's any questions or anything about stories, feel free to ask. I have some time slotted in at the end if you want to ask questions. So the premise of Iron Man, Tony Stark uses his awesome engineering abilities to create a superhero suit for himself to right the injustices caused by his own profiteering, selfish past. So Iron Man, this is not why we go to see Iron Man, but it's a story of what? You won't be able to see. Between sessions, I'm going to change the color of my font.
He's trying to dim the lights down.
Oh, okay. Oh, cool. Redemption. Tony Stark becomes redeemed. He redeems himself for his past bad behavior. So what's the message of Finding Nemo? Okay, can't really see this slide. Remember there's that scene where Nemo and Dory are in the whale, and Dory wants to leave, and Marlin's hanging onto the mouth's tongue. Do you remember what she says? I guess you don't see Finding Nemo 10 times a year like I do. Maybe when you were little. Put Finding Nemo on again. Again? She says, it's time to let go. She means it literally. Literally, let go of the whale's tongue. Figuratively, it's the theme of the movie. Figuratively, have faith. That's the message of Finding Nemo. Sometimes you just have to have faith. You can't control everything. You just have to trust that things will work out okay. And have faith. Story. How about this? Remember I said write what you know? I'm not pointing fingers or anything, but say there was a movie about a shy, insecure, unpopular high school student who has a massive crush on an attractive classmate. That sounds like a story to me. I wouldn't know personally, but that's a joke. I had lots of crushes. Could that be an idea for a movie? You think you could turn that into a movie? What if I told you it has been made into a movie? Maybe 1 or 2 movies. I'm thinking one in particular, because I want to make a point. Can anyone relate to that? You don't have to raise your hand. Spider-Man. Peter Parker is, I'm not going to say it. He's a shy, awkward, unpopular guy who has a massive crush on a pretty popular girl. Also, dead parents. He has an emotional void. So maybe you can relate to this. That's not necessarily why people go to see Spider-Man, but at the heart of it, okay, like I was saying, maybe some of you can relate to having a major crush on a classmate. Probably fewer of you can relate to being a web-slinging superhero with strength and other superpowers. If you can relate to that, you probably don't want to tell me right now in this setting. There's an emotional truth at the heart of Spider-Man. While we might not know what it feels like to be a superhero, and we might know what it does feel like to have a crush on a classmate, when you do that, you want to be impressive. If you have, you know, when you have a crush on somebody, you want them to see you excelling, shining, doing well. So that's what's at the heart of Spider-Man. Also, with great power comes great responsibility. That's a lesson we could all learn too. That's a lesson a lot of people could learn from. So some words of advice from a master. Stan Lee. Yeah. I thought it was kind of timely to talk about Stan Lee a little bit. He was a great storyteller. And he had some great words of advice for us. If you don't know, write what you know. If you don't know about it, Google it. You know, it's a really good thing too. If you need to know, I should have put this in there. When you were littler, did you have those books, those DK books, Dorling Kindersley books, those picture books? With really, they're like this thin, hardback books with tons and tons of pictures and descriptions of everything. Kids books. If you need to know about a subject really quickly, read a kid's book. I'm not a big, I don't advocate for a whole lot of research. Learn what you need to know. Your characters don't have to be experts. They just have to sound like they know what they're talking about. But write what you know. The vast bulk of you are teenagers. You know what it's like to be a teenager, but you might be a teenage baseball player, so you know what playing baseball is like. You might be a ballet dancer. You might know what ballet is like. Write what you know. If you don't write what you know and you just make it up, it's going to feel fake. I hate to break it to you. Now, you know, you have these rules of film, things you can't do in film. One of the biggest cliches in short films are hitmen, gangsters. If any of you are gangsters, again, I probably don't want to know about it. I'm guessing you know very little about being a gangster. Don't write gangster movies. Analyze everything. I know when you sit down to watch a movie, you're just trying to be entertained, but watch a movie and ask yourselves, why did they do that? Would it have been better for a character to say something rather than just stand there silently? Why didn't the writer introduce that important story element until 15 minutes into the film? Try to figure these things out. Watch movies. If you want to do this, you have to analyze film. You can't just sit and watch it. You have to try to figure these things out. Keep writing. The more you do, the more you enjoy it, the easier it becomes, and the more you improve. If you find yourself getting bored or tired of it, there's only one answer: find another career. Writers write. They say a writer never takes a vacation. You're either always writing or thinking about writing. If you write about subjects thinking that's what the market wants, you'll just end up writing boring pages. The more interested you are in your subject, the better chance you have making something that's going to be interesting to other people. Write from the heart. You have ideas and things you want to talk about. Like I said earlier, it's fine to be entertaining, but don't just copy from other movies. Write within your parameters. This is more a production thing. If you don't have a spaceship available, don't write a screenplay set on a spaceship. If you don't have access to a desert island, don't write a screenplay set on a desert island. A lot of you have access to teenagers and classrooms, houses and stuff like that. That's independent filmmaking 101, write for what you have available to you. Write from the heart, write things, oh, ha. There we go. Normally I'm used to being up on stage with my band and there's pyro and things. No, I'm not. But you didn't know I was in KISS when I'm, yeah. Yeah.
Doing my best for the foreign. Thanks, Jessica. Why is that so dull?
I skipped one? Oh yeah, redemption. All right, I think I'm supposed to let you go, but, oh no, I have till 10:05. Are there any questions about anything, about what to write, how to write? Did I totally blow it for you? You never want to, you have a question?
For some advice for these guys to write short stories, what would be your main focus in 6 minutes if you're writing a story?
That's a tough question, because like the theme of what I'm talking about, it has to be something that they mean, that means something to them. I will say, and I talked about this when I lectured here last year, one of the tricky things with the short film is, this is just kind of general character stuff. I don't know how much you guys have studied traditional story structure in feature films. In a feature film, you have to set up XYZ in the first 10 minutes. There's an inciting incident, and then on page 30, the character makes a major decision. In a short film, the inciting incident is usually also the act break. Something happens to you, and you make a choice to move forward, rather than messing around for 20 minutes. So that's a good question. It's a tough question. Does that help at all? Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, well, in a short film, you actually want to keep things short and simple. Don't overdo it. One of the biggest mistakes in a short film is trying to cram in too much. So, yeah, that's definitely one thing to think about. So, oh, did you have a question? Okay, again, in terms of short films as opposed to feature films, the cool thing about short films is, and I view short films as a completely different form. You know, some people write poems, some people write novels. They're two different forms. Short films and feature films are two different forms. When we watch a feature film, we want things to be tied up and resolved at the end. Short films don't have to resolve that way. You can leave people hanging at the end. I find that really satisfying. So my advice is leave the audience with something to chew on. Anybody else? Yes?
What do you do to get writer's block? Just like ways to kind of avoid that?
That's a good question too. And there's some people will say there's no such thing as writer's block. I don't know that I experience writer's block. To me, I just fight through. I mean, it sometimes involves a lot of pacing around. Sometimes involves doing a lot of not writing. Working out is really good. I get my best ideas at the gym. So if I'm having trouble with something, I take a break, and it usually comes to you. The worst thing about writing and not knowing what to write is the pressure. Oh, I have to write, I can't write, and then you freeze. So take a break from it, and it'll come to you.